All righty. Welcome, everyone. We'll just give people a few seconds here to get online. But we are joined by the amazing Nicole and Pet Service Dog Walker, who's kind of snoozing in the background. You can just
Right over there.
see her bandana in the corner of her ear there.
Yeah.
And then we also, from Vancouver, and then we've got Tia and Merlot, PADS accredited facility dog Merlot, joining us from Regina, Saskatchewan. And as always, we have our lovely Lanny here who is providing closed captioning for our broadcast. So kind of happening behind the scenes. So I'm just going to start by just asking these lovely ladies to tell us a little bit before we dive in too deep here about how you came to be part of the PADS family. So Tia, do you want to go first?
Oh, well, I guess I am.
She's like, no.
I was working as an investigator. So I'm a police officer out of our Children's Justice Center with the Regina Police Service. We're integrated with social services. And so I had been an investigator of child abuse over here. And then a previous chief of ours had heard of Kim Gramlich, had seen Kim Gramlich speak at a conference and came back and said, we want one of these dogs, figure it out, and kind of sent it off through the chains of command and kind of eventually made its way through the chain down to people in our unit. And it was presented to us like, hey, who wants to do this? And nobody had a clue at the time what it was. I think there was only 5 other facility dogs working within police agencies at the time around that. And anyways, after doing some research, I thought, hey, having a dog's got to be a good thing, right? It's got to be good. Something's got to be better than what we are providing right now for the kids and vulnerable adults coming to our center. So I said, yeah, I'll do it, and sent in my application. And again, there was some like back and forth with that, and eventually ended up with Merlot in June 2015.
Yeah, so you have had Merlot now for six years.
6 years.
And so thank you for sharing that. I'm going to pass it over to Nicole. So Nicole, Walker is not your first PADS service dog. So you've been a client for a long time.
Yeah.
How did you come to be part of the PADS family?
Well, it's kind of cool because I was a rider. I was an equestrian for a lot of years, and Laura was a volunteer at where I rode at. And so I would see these cute little dogs and these cute little PADS dogs every once in a while. And so my instructor was also friends with Laura, and I said, hey, I want to get a PADS dog. This was like in early 2001, I think is when I applied. And 2001, 2002. And so I went through the whole process and was on the wait list for 3 years. And then finally was matched with Leroy in 2005. So yeah, so it's been like 16 years of having a PADS dog, and it's been amazing. It's been challenging. Each of my dogs have brought me something different and something cool and different aspects of my life. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey so far.
Yeah. And I have to share, this is a very special broadcast for me because some of you may know I raised Merlot, so she is very near and dear to me. But Nicole also holds the notable distinction of being the very first PADS client that I got to know. And so we met when I was raising my very first puppy, Ruby, my very first day on campus with her at Kwantlen. Nicole was a student there and had Leroy with her. And I was walking with Ruby and I had no idea what I was doing. And we ran into each other, and and it just was super, super cool. So a friendship was born, and we have lots of cute pictures of my puppies growing up alongside Leroy, or Mellow Man, as he was known to me. So
or their mother.
Yeah. So it's very cool to have you both here today. I also want to share I know when we were promoting that Juliet and Stark were going to join us today, and she reached out last night and gave me permission to just kind of share her regrets that she couldn't be here today. But I just want to share a little bit kind of on behalf of her, because I think it's before we dive into kind of talking about Move and the impact of these incredible dogs, I'm going to talk about Juliet and Stark for a minute. So this has been a big month. Juliet has gone hard on this Move event. She has raised a colossal amount of money for pads. And she has been hosting boot camps that volunteers and supporters have come out to fundraise for the Move event, et cetera. And but the reality is she is a client with a PTSD injury, and that has all taken has put a level of like emotional kind of like energy into it to kind of do all of those things. But I think the part that is even more notable to mention is that, you know, Juliet shared at our graduation several years ago, she was our valedictorian, that before Stark, she had trouble leaving her house just to check her mailbox. And now this incredible woman is hosting boot camps for people to raise money for pads. And she is out in the community, and she's supporting new pads clients as well as part of kind of our PTSD program. She's supporting other clients that are getting their dogs. And she is just a remarkable person and friend. And I think is really a testament to where all these Move dollars are going. And so we've been talking a lot this month about raising this money to place more dogs. And so today, as a thank you, we wanted to talk a little bit about where the dogs go and what they do. So for those of you that have made a donation, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is our gift back to you, is to give you a little glimpse into the world that these dogs go on and the impact that they have. And we were just talking at the beginning here, somewhere behind me is Cadence. She was up on a chair next to me. She wanted to see everybody when I got on the phone, and it has now resumed napping position. But it's also been interesting for me as well to transition from being a volunteer to a staff member to also a client, and seeing the impact. So I'm going to flip it up now. We're going to make Nicole go first. For those of you watching, before Nicole starts talking, if you have questions for any of us, so for Tia and Merlot, or for Nicole Walker, or for myself, feel free to just type them into the comments on Facebook if you're watching on Facebook. I know we have a few people watching on Zoom as well. If you're on Zoom, just click the little Q&A button and you can pop a question in there, and we'll try to answer them live on air. So, but let's start with Nicole. Nicole, why don't you tell us a little bit about the impact that your Pads dogs have had in your life, and what that has looked like from a practical perspective, but just kind of your world in general.
Where do I begin? It's funny when you talk about Juliet and how how she's blossomed as a person. It's kind of like the same thing. Like, I went from living with my parents, not really interacting with a lot of people, to like now living on my own, having a job, doing things that I never thought I would ever do, like go on video and lift weights and do silly things and just have goals and accomplish them. And so I think for me as a person, I've really grown throughout the last like 16 years and beyond. So it's more, like you said before, it's more than just the physical stuff. It's like the emotional stuff. It's like growing as a person. It's like learning how to deal with challenges. It's learning how to communicate better, whether with your dog or with other people, because the dog becomes like a bridge to other people. You meet more people than you've ever met before. I've had jobs that I never thought I'd have. That kind of stuff. Like, it just opens your world to a whole other dimension. It's a commitment. I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot of work. It's not, it's not something where you get the dog and dog is like an automatic, like it's yay. It's like, it's a total 100% commitment all the time. And, I mean, I think that's one reason why I support Pat so much, not just for, to say, oh, I have a great dog. It's also, I have a great support system. I have a great community. I know Pats will help me if I ever have an issue with my dogs, and I have. And they've always stepped up. They've always stepped up for me when, when I've been having issues with Walker. Let's be honest, like it wasn't, the easiest thing in the beginning. It wasn't the easiest transition. And so to have that total support from the Pats community, like it's been amazing, So I don't know, I could go on and on about it. I could say, it's helped me in this way. It's helped me in my family. My family loved Leroy, and and it really helped them. Once he retired, he went to live with them, and so I think it helped us as a family to come together. And even Walker, even though she's totally different, she just, even when things are hard, I think she just brings us all together.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that you touched on something important there, is like, these are living, breathing creatures. They're not, they're not a, mechanical lift or something like that just gets delivered and you pop it out of the box and then it just is, a remote control that you press buttons on. It's a relationship that's built. And, one of the most beautiful relationships that I've watched form over the years is yours with Walker, because you're right, it wasn't easy at first. She's a dog that takes a little bit longer to bond. And I remember there was some frustration in those early days because she wasn't like Leroy, who was just like, I don't care who you are, I'll do it for you. So, but I think, the payoff is huge, right? And, and the beauty of a dog like Walker is that she doesn't really care about anybody but you, right?
Yeah,
you don't have to worry. Not like my little golden retriever here who thinks everybody she meets is her best friend. And I have to work really hard to just keep her engaged and focused and stuff. So
once I did get that, that bond, it's amazing. But it took like so much, it's okay, like every day. But once you get that bond, and you're right, she's not distracted by other dogs. She's not, unless she knows somebody like my dad. She's not distracted. So it's when you're in public, she's more focused on the job, and like she's super serious when in Cape. And when she's not in Cape, she's a barking princess that loves to bark all the time. But yeah, it's really strange. Like she's smart, but then the smart, you have to deal with, the smart dog that thinks they know more than you do, and you have to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's jump over to Tia here. And just a reminder, I see that our numbers are going up and people are joining us here. So if you've just joined us, if you have any questions for anybody that's on the broadcast today, feel free to throw them in the Q&A box, or you can type them into the question section on Facebook, and we'll try and answer them. But we'll jump over to Tia. So same question. Talk to us about the impact that Merlot has had in your world. So
I think Nicole, she touched on a couple of things that I kind of just want to jump onto, is the work, the amount of work that the dog takes, that you think you're getting a dog and it's like, oh, it's a trained dog. It's going to be easy, right? You just have a dog. And then you're like, oh, I have a dog 24 hours a day that has a lot of needs, and their needs go first, right? Like, so all of that stuff, like you don't think about, you think, okay, this is gonna be awesome, but you don't know all the background stuff to it. But saying that, I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, I like rarely ever do I have a day that like I'll come to work and I don't have Merlot, like, and it would be because we have an appointment right away and we're running to something like that. But when I don't have her, it's so weird. Like I keep feeling like I forgot something, like something's missing. What am I doing? And then everybody in the hallway, because everybody, when I get to work, it's like, good morning, Merlot. Hi, Merlot. Hi, Merlot. Oh, hey, Tia. I don't even bother. Like, people don't even say good morning. I get it. But when I don't have Merlot with me, like, you forgot something. Where's Merlot? Where's Merlot? Where's Merlot? And it's like, not good morning. It's like something's wrong. Where's Merlot? Where's Merlot? Like that's the highlight of their morning, right? And so the work is, there's so much work, but so worth it in the long run when not only like the kids and the people that I work with hear how the impact she has on them, but then also like my coworkers, right, that are still seeing her in the morning and they're anticipating seeing her when they get to the office, because maybe like for when the mornings that I go to our main building and I'm in our change room and I have people come up to me, at least one person will be coming off a night shift saying, oh, I'm so glad Merlot came at the right time. I just needed her this morning. I just needed this to end my block or to go home and sleep and to come back and do it again. Oh, I had a rough shift. Same thing coming into our building here is maybe we don't, because I can't say for every kid, maybe kids like, I met a dog today, it was great, whatever. Or maybe the most monumental moment of their life that they got to meet Merlot. I won't know that unless they, have expressed it. But maybe for whatever that child or family came in to talk about, maybe it was super difficult for the investigator working with that family. And so having Merlot after that, maybe interview or whatever we were doing, the effect that she has on them, just being able to debrief and just kind of calm themselves down, so they can go on to the next child to help them. And then also I want to say, when Nicole was talking about how having a dog has helped her with going out more and communicating with more people, I laughed to myself because we always joke before I had Merlot, like I'm that person that stands in the grocery line and everybody just decides to talk to, even though I was not making eye contact with you. But then when you have a dog with you, everybody talks to you. And so going out with Merlot, we're in our downtown area of Regina. And so it's a very mixed community of people that are downtown. And so I run into people that I've met through work before I worked as an investigator here, people as I've worked here, or just people in our community in general. And some are people who are like, oh my God, I follow Merlot, that's Merlot, that's Merlot. I just ran into somebody last week and they're like, this couple was having an argument over, I could see it. And they're like, oh, I love your dog, how, what's her name? And I said, Merlot. They're like, I told you it was Merlot. And the guy's like, no, there was no way that was Merlot, because I had presented to them like 5 years ago and they thought Merlot was a puppy. So they're like, there's no way it could be Merlot that they were running into last. But the amount of people we talk to, or I talk to every day is insane, whether it's just in our building, but out in our community, whether it's people that know Merlot or just people, and maybe it's people from, like not typically people that may want to engage with me knowing that I'm a police officer, and they're all would stand there all day and talk to me about Merlot.
Yeah.
So it opens up doors to every which way.
It's interesting. I've said many times over the years, because I was a puppy raiser for a long time before I was a client, that having a pet dog has actually made me really socially awkward when I don't have the dog, because I don't know how to start conversations. Like I don't know how to just walk up to people and have a conversation, because my dog always does it for me. So yeah, it's interesting the impact that they have kind of within the community. And certainly Merlot, is she 8 now? I was trying to think about that. Yeah.
8.5, almost 9.
So all of that, all of these kids that she's worked with, but at the same time, all of the people that she's worked with is huge. And so I think you both touch on important things, is just that presence in the community as well, and the presence kind of in our own lives. And yeah, it is weird when we don't have our dogs. That's super strange. I know now, I feel like I said to somebody, it's like when you realize you've like forgotten your purse, or actually probably more like forgetting your phone in these days and age, where you're just like, you feel like this little bit of like panic that something really important is not with you. So I know I should probably be better with it than I am, but I'm not. But it's a huge responsibility, and not just the responsibility from the standpoint of like keeping up their training and caring for them. But
Yeah.
I also feel a responsibility, and it's weird that I'm talking to Tia here because I was Merlot's puppy raiser, but it's actually the opposite for me. Is I feel a responsibility to this community, right? To the people that donate, to the people that volunteer and give kind of so selflessly of their time and their money to make these dogs happen, that I want to make sure that my dog is always the very best PADS dog that she can be, that she is the best behaved, that she is, you know, a good ambassador for the organization, and that she is working to her full potential, right? And so I think that's something, you know, we look and we don't like to talk about this. This is something that as clients, we don't like to talk about is, you know, the next dog TM, is that all of these dogs retire at some point. And so that gratitude and that responsibility also extends that, you know, our involvement in this community as well is ongoing. So Nicole went from having Leroy to having Walker. And Walker is starting to get close to that age, and as Merlot. And it's funny, as Katie's face gets grayer and grayer, I'm like, slow down, just don't, you're not allowed to get older. I keep joking that there's going to be some henna just because it's a little funny. So but yeah, so Nicole, do you want to talk about that a little bit, like what it was like to transition between dogs? So Leroy stayed with your dad or your mom and dad, and was adopted by them, and you had moved out already at that point, so you were living on your own.
So
you want to talk about that a bit?
So I had Leroy for 4 months when I moved out, and then he retired. He was 11 and a half, and he was like, I'm old, I have arthritis, I can't do the city. And so I just saw the signs of like, it's time for him to retire now. You could just see like the struggle, especially in the city. Like, it's one thing if I still lived at home, but I had moved out to the city, and it's a lot of walking and a lot of getting on and off the bus, you know, getting, you know, moving around. And so I saw the signs of him needing to retire. And so after he retired to my parents, I didn't have a dog for about 9 months, which was really hard. For me, like you were saying, we don't like to talk about the next dog. I like to talk about the next dog. I do. I'm like, well, okay, I'm always looking to the future, right? I'm like, oh, and it's funny remember when Leroy, I knew he was going to retire. I saw it coming, and I was sort of, when I go to PADS events, I'd sort of screen the room, and I'd sort of look to see what dogs were coming up, and to see like, just, you know, because for me, I've always had an animal. Like, I've always, you know, I've ridden different horses. I've dealt with the changes in different animals. So for me, not having a dog is worse than, you know, having to transition. So for me, I like the challenge. I like the transition. I like, yes, Walker was definitely a challenge and a change, but I like that. I like having that challenge of getting to know a new being, of getting to bond and getting to work together with this living creature that you know is amazing. So yeah. Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I appreciate it. And I'm realizing that there was like a bunch of questions that were coming in as we were chatting about all these things. So I'm just going to go through the comments here a little bit. There's a few kind of neat ones. So Shelly Lears says, hi, Nicole. I puppy sat Walker when she was in advanced training. She is the best PADS dog I ever sat out of 52 dogs. Also, I would like to say, Shelly, you are amazing. 52 dogs is crazy. I also am going to interrupt because this literally just popped up onto my screen that we just hit $100,000. So
Wow,
y'all are awesome. Amazing. So Lelania says PADS empowers clients to move forward with their lives. I couldn't agree more, Lelania. So she asked, how do you deal with people wanting to interact with you when you're out just doing your life because you have a service dog? I actually want to have each of us answer that question and I'll tell you why, is I actually think it's very different depending on the
Yeah.
person. So
Yeah.
what does that look like for you, Nicole?
Mostly positive, like people ask questions and most of the time I have no problem answering them. Um, when you don't, here's the thing, when you don't have a lot of time, and sometimes you don't, you're just sort of going and you don't have a lot of time. I like the idea of like giving them pads information or like, the website or the contact information so they could look it up and, maybe, so you're not like just seeing like you're blowing them off. You're just sort of, hey, I have to go, but, nice talking to you. And here's some information. I know some people have cards so they can give them out about pads information so that you're not, that you're, telling them about the organization, but, you can still get through your day, your day. So yeah, I mean, for 99.9% of the time, it's always positive. I always meet, people who've been past puppy raisers. Maybe they're not puppy raisers anymore, but I've seen them on the bus. I see them in the mall. I see them, friends of puppy raisers, friends of breeders who, were longtime breeders and now they're just friends of people. And they're like, oh yeah, my friend raises these dogs, or, they've puppy raised so many dogs and stuff like that. And so you always see members of the community. And so, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. What about you, Tia? What does that look like for you? I mean, you talked about it a little bit before about the whole world loves Merlot. Is it generally positive?
Oh yeah, I'm late for everything. That's like the story of my life. Ever
Yeah.
since getting Merlot, I am always late and rushing because same thing like Nicole said, I want to explain Merlot and I want to explain pads to everybody. And so I try as hard as I can to always take the time and talk to everybody. It's like usually if it's court that I'm pushing, like the time limit on it, that's when I'm like, I gotta go, this is who she is. You can look her up on Facebook, gotta go, bye. But typically, like Nicole said, 99.9% of the time I'll stop and have the time and just be late for whatever, is coming up next, except for court or an interview. But it's positive. And I find that it's funny, kids, I feel like know more about working dogs than adults, and they're educating the parents or the caregivers that are with them, because I'll be out and parents will walk up, or adults, I guess I should say, will walk up and just reach out to pet Merlot, and the kids will be like, no, she's got a vest on, she's working, you need to ask. And so it's also like a learning experience. And so I explain a little bit like about Merlot and that, yes, she can be pet, but I find I was very strict when I first got Merlot because I wasn't really sure, like I didn't want to ruin her training, right? And I wanted to follow all the rules and okay, you need to ask to pet her, and send out this email that everybody at work, like still to this day will bug me about, like, oh, sorry, can I pet Merlot? Because I was super like all about the rules. And as we've gone on, and now Merlot has a lot of her friends, and I think it's different too because she is a facility dog and she's not, I've let this slide a little bit because she's not performing like, duties for just me. And I can see how her getting distracted if she was supposed to be performing some duties for me specifically. Whereas now I kind of like, if we're sitting there and people are reaching out, I'm like, oh, it's a free for all. Everybody's petting her. We'll just let it slide. And thankfully Merlot at least knows when she can kind of get away with that, and I know when she can kind of get away with that, as opposed to, okay, no, this is work time, and she'll kind of like give people the gotta go, I'm working right now, whereas she knows like if we're in the hallway at work and everybody's kind of reaching, and for her it's sort of like I feel like she's doing her job right there anyways, and nothing bad's coming out, it's all good stuff coming out of it. So
Yeah.
don't tell Ron.
Well, and it's interesting because that you guys say that, because I kind of am sort of in the middle. So Cadence is a super social dog. She loves people. And it's been quite difficult post-COVID. Like we went to an eye exam to a clinic we'd never been to before with people she had never met. And we're standing behind the counter and there's these two women on the other side of this plexiglass barrier. And Cadence is just dancing because she's so excited to see these people that she's literally never met. And so for me, a lot of how I interact with the public with her depends on what her behavior is like, because I want to reward good behavior. I don't want a dog who's losing her mind over total strangers. Like I need a dog that remains focused. And particularly with me, she provides balance support. So if she's putting any kind of pressure on her harness or her leash, that's a safety concern. And so, so we've had to work really hard post-COVID to keep kind of get her engagement back but the interesting flip side to that is that because she is such a social dog, that's one of the ways that she kind of empties her bucket, right? So one of the ways that she unloads stress is having social interactions, whether it's with me or with other people. And I recognize that I am not enough for Cadence. Cadence needs more than just me. And so I tend to be selective. She has kind of her favorite people. And when we meet with those favorite people, I make a point of just letting her experience that joy and not kind of squashing her in that, because it is one of the things that helps kind of just keep her happy and healthy and productive. And a good working dog is recognizing that one of Cadence's needs is engagement with people. And it would be like taking, you know, an extrovert and saying, you need to work in a little office by yourself all day.
Yeah.
How happy would you be? And so what I need to recognize about my unique dog is that she needs her cup filled here and there. So I'm selective about where that happens. I think there's also a responsibility that we all have as well, that not every service dog user is going to want to interact and talk with the public. So I do make a point of saying to people, oh, you know what, I actually have a couple minutes to chat. Thanks for asking. And I tend to reward people when they're polite and they ask. If somebody reaches out to touch my dog, I'm actually quite curt with people, like not rude, but just please don't touch her. She's working. Because that is, I mean, it's a safety concern for me, but for many of our clients, it's even more so of a safety concern, or for an alert dog in particular. So if somebody's got a diabetic alert dog, or even one of our PTSD dogs that needs to just stay dialed into their person, those kinds of like people that just kind of reach out to touch. So I think I feel a responsibility to educate, even if I do occasionally allow people to kind of interact with her. Okay, I'm scrolling back because there's more comments. So Terry is asking Tia and I, how many dogs like Merlot has PADS placed in similar work situations in Canada? I think, well, I don't know if I can speak to the total number of PADS dogs. I know total Justice Facility Dogs Canada, is it 40?
I think we're over 50 now. I think like for across Canada, I think last I checked was 51 or 52.
Yeah.
When I last looked.
Yeah, the numbers keep going up. So there's a few schools in Canada that place Justice Facility dogs. So us, Dogs with Wings, I believe Mira, Lions Foundation. So there's a few schools, accredited schools that place these dogs across the country. I want to say with PADS, it's got to be in the 20s, maybe 30s, but with
I might have it in my drawer.
Oh, okay. So Tia's going to see if she can find an answer for you, Tia. A lot is the short answer, given that, you know, Cambridge is retired and he was the first. And so all of this has happened really in the lifespan of one dog, that it's gone from being an idea to, so there's a website, Justice Facility Dogs, I believe it's .ca, is a new organization that kind of oversees across Canada. What is it, Tia? Do you have it there? She's like, I don't have my glasses and I can't read.
For Justice, so I just have a printout from Courthouse Docs, but I think it's Justice Facility Dogs.ca. I can find that too for you.
It is, yeah. I just pulled it up here. Yeah,
okay.
.ca. So yeah, so there's quite a few, and the numbers are always changing. It's a tricky thing to ask exact numbers because there's always dogs retiring and new dogs being placed. So we just announced yesterday, Queenie was just matched. Her announcement went up yesterday. So that's another Justice Facility dog. So she has already been, the photo was from her first day in the Supreme Court. So that's quite amazing. So thank you. And Katie just posted the link there to the comments for anybody that wants to check out this new organization. So if you're watching on Facebook. Yeah, so there's a lot of the dogs, and I think too there's a lot of recognition now across the industry of the importance of accredited dogs in those roles if they're going into court or working with victims, et cetera, that they're coming from an accredited program. So
This isn't old, Tara. This one's old, but I think from this one's printouts from 2020. But there's 13 pads dogs, and then we've had like 2 retire this year in the last few months that I can think
yeah,
of.
2 retired, we had 1 pass away, but then I also know that we've placed, I'm going to use a really technical term, a boatload of them in the last 12 months. I want to say maybe close to a dozen. But those aren't all necessarily just as facility dogs, that's accredited facility dogs. So some
Right.
have gone into schools, et cetera. So maybe we'll do a post about that. Katie's watching, so maybe we'll do a post about how many dogs there are across Canada. We'll go crunch the numbers. So if there's any more questions, I know that we've kind of gone over time here, but I just, I'll give people another opportunity if you have any questions that you want to ask. Oh, hang on a sec. Oh, there is one. Oh, Lelania just says, thanks everyone. It's something I've been thinking about. I like that Nicole said she offers PAD's website or a card. And that I honor Katie's spirit and her emotional needs. Yeah, I think that, I like rewarding good behavior. So when people engage politely and appropriately with their dogs, I just think, it's ensuring the future of PADS, and obviously my professional role as communications manager, my whole career is around building the brand and the awareness of the organization and helping more people learn about the important work that we do. And so that plays out into obviously the other aspects of my life. But when I look at these other ladies on the screen here with me, I know they do the same. I've been out with Nicole and with Tia, and yeah, it's like walking around with absolutely world famous celebrity at the end of your leash. I often feel like, I'm the security detail.
Yeah.
I'm just there to escort.
True.
So but I don't want to diminish with that the importance of the work that they do with each one of us, and with clients like Juliet, and also, so with this, I'm just going to I'm going to see if there's any more questions, but ladies, do you have any last kind of words that you want to share while we're still online?
I do. If my thing, when we were talking about earlier about educating people, and I think what's important is for me giving back, knowing that all the puppy raisers and the time and the energy and the training and all the work that goes into these dogs. And so at the end of, the end of their training is, approximately $40,000 worth of a dog, right? And so I feel like I owe it back to not only the community I'm serving, that I want to assist with as many people as I can here, and that Merlot, they can get the benefits of having Merlot with them, but also to show PADS and the people from PADS, like, all your hard work was not for nothing, right? Like, we appreciate the work so much. And I don't think people realize how much work goes into, I think people who have puppies realize how hard it is to train a dog. Whenever it's like, how did she get like this? I'm like, I don't know. I just got her like this. So I'm really lucky. But like the amount of work that goes into it, and that I would be super disappointed if I was a puppy raiser and did all this work and had an amazing dog. So if I'm Tara, I did all this work for Merlot, and then, she's off to Regina, and A, I never get to see her again, and B, have no clue if Tia is actually like working, are Tia and Merlot actually working? Are they doing anything? Like, this dog is an amazing being and has a lot of talents. And so I want her to be used to her full potential and as many years as I can. So I want to keep her as healthy as possible. I want to keep her engaged, keep her training up to date. And so we're benefiting all the communities, PADS community, as well as the community of Regina and beyond, the people that we are assisting. Cause yeah, I'd be devastated if I had put all this training into a dog and sent them off, never heard what they did, or found out that they hadn't been used to their, as best as they could be.
Yeah.
So we bust our butts as hard as we can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to say, so switching hats here as a puppy raiser, it is always such an extraordinary gift for me when I get a text from Tia, or I was driving across Canada recently. We stopped and had a quick visit in Regina. It was a little crazy and chaotic because there was also Katie puppies there and lived there. It was a gong show, but the part that I love too as a puppy raiser is also just realizing that like of all those dogs that were there, like Merlot was just like, my human is here, right? And she's 8 years old. She hasn't lived with me since she was 2. And I just, that is even all by itself, that is so validating of the work that I put into her, is that it doesn't matter if it's been 3 years or 4 years. She is still as excited she's probably more excited to see me now than she was when she lived with me. But you know, that's super validating, but it's also just such a gift to have a client that receives a dog that I raise. And it's not true for all of our puppies in training. So some people are very private, then they just, you know, they need the dog to help them and they want to just live their quiet life and not have, you know, a big kind of, you know, relationship or interaction. But I just think it's just such a privilege. And so I really appreciate that. And, you know, here's the thing is, wouldn't need to be visits, etc. I just love even, you know, just getting an email, you know, periodically that's like, hey, she did this great thing today. It just always makes my day. So, you know, I think for those of you watching that are on our wait list, I know there's some of you online today, when you get to that stage of having a dog, just recognize that somebody loved this dog and got up in the middle of the night for, you know, months on end to take them out to pee and was there when they were sick and, you know, and saw them through, quite honestly, and I'm here to say this, I love my fully trained dog now, because for years, all I had was outrageous adolescents that I lived with. Merlot being the exception. That one, I swear, was born into like a 10-year-old body. Like she just
old lady from the beginning.
She's a very old soul. So, but yeah, she was the only one that wasn't a raging adolescent, but she had her moments too. So yeah, so thank you everyone so much. Thank you ladies for being here. I am going to just close by saying just an overwhelming thank you to all of our Move supporters, and probably even more so to not more so, as well as our movers. So the people that have participated, so I count Tia and Nicole among those. You know, Tia, you were like you were just like killing it this year.
You have to find friends that know that you hate to swim and they'll make you do things for money.
Fantastic. So, but I have to say, you know, I've said this privately to a few people, it's been a heck of a year. You know, last year I put up my first Move post saying that we were fundraising and our goal was $1,500. And 2 days later, we'd hit our goal. And I was like, well, we're going to keep going. So I increased it. I just kept increasing my goal last year and we kept just going and going. And I have to say, I have worked probably 10 times harder this year.
Yeah.
And we've, you know, I just am so overwhelmed by the people who have given to our campaign, but we've not been hitting the dollars that we did in previous years. I'm so excited because as of like this call, we've hit where we were last year with our Move event. We had really big aspirations and I'm still not giving up. That 150 is, you know, still possible, people. But it's been a tough year and people are tired, and COVID has been really hard on businesses and individuals that have lost their jobs, et cetera. And we recognize that, but it almost makes it that much sweeter. And so that's what I want to close with, is that this fundraiser has been an absolutely tremendous success in the midst of a pandemic and so much uncertainty, that this is, you know, officially as of 10 minutes ago, our most successful fundraiser ever. We've had more donors participate in this fundraiser than in any fundraiser in PAD's 35-year history. And we've now, you know, broken our record from last year in terms of dollars raised. So that to me is a monumental success. So thank you to all of our movers. You guys have worked so hard this year. And I've seen kind of the blood, sweat, and tears you've put into kind of getting the word out and raising money, and the creativity, oh my goodness gracious, of some of our movers this year. Just everybody has kind of just been doing their own thing, but oh my goodness, it's just been amazing to watch and be part of. So it's an absolute privilege, and thank you all so much. And we're not done yet. There's still possibility that by midnight, we could hit that goal. Somebody could come along or a bunch of someone's could come along and help us hit that goal. So go to pads.ca/move4pads 4. And go to that page and scroll through, and it shows next to each mover's name where they are in terms of their goal. So are they at 60% or 70%? Or are they at, what are you at, Tia, like 400%? But go find a mover that hasn't hit their goal and make their day. Just go make a donation to their page and tell them thank you for all their hard work, and just help us kind of get across that finish line. So you have until midnight tonight to make your donation. And thank you, ladies, for joining us, and Lanny for closed captioning. And I'm sorry we went way over, but it was a great conversation. We really appreciate having you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, ladies. Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Take care. Thanks, Lanny.